What's up, Vikings Nation? Take a deep breath with me for a second, because today's Minnesota Vikings news might be exactly what this fan base needed to hear. There was real anxiety in the air about our defensive future, but the latest developments are starting to bring some much-needed calm. Here's the teaser that should grab you right away. Brian Flores, the architect behind one of the nastiest defenses in the NFL, now looks very likely to stay in Minnesota through the 2026 season. And yes, this all connects to one massive coaching decision around the league. So stick with me, because this story has interviews, rumors, league insiders, and huge implications for how the Vikings plan to win games moving forward. Let's rewind to the tension point. Brian Flores was once again a hot name in the head coaching cycle, and rightfully so. One of the most talked about opportunities linked to him was the Pittsburgh Steelers head coaching job. For Vikings fans, that rumor alone was enough to raise blood pressure. Losing Flores would mean losing the identity of this defense, the aggressive mindset, the creativity, and the confidence that carried this team late into the season. Every interview Flores took felt like a ticking clock. Would Minnesota be forced to replace the heartbeat of its defense just as it hit its stride? Then came the update that shifted everything. On January 24th, ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter dropped a bombshell that sent waves across the league. According to sources, the Steelers are planning to hire former Dallas Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. That single report may have quietly closed the door on one of the biggest threats to the Vikings coaching staff. And immediately, people covering Minnesota started connecting the dots. When a Schefter report lands, you pay attention. And for Vikings fans, this one landed like a sigh of relief. Kevin Seifert of ESPN, who follows the Minnesota Vikings closely, didn't waste time reacting. He made it clear that this news was very good for Minnesota, especially when it comes to Brian Flores' future. Seifert pointed out that with Pittsburgh seemingly off the board, there are currently no known head coaching destinations left for Flores. That's a massive shift from where things stood just weeks ago. Unless something unexpected pops up late in the process, all signs now point to Flores remaining the Vikings' defensive coordinator in 2026. And here's where it gets even more solid. On January 20th, the Minnesota Vikings officially announced that Brian Flores had signed a contract extension to stay with the team. That move already suggested confidence and commitment on both sides. But paired with the Steelers' news, it now looks like Minnesota didn't just extend Flores. They secured stability. For a franchise building towards sustained success, that kind of continuity matters more than fans sometimes realize. Head coach Kevin O'Connell didn't hold back when talking about Flores. In the team statement, he praised Flores for his ability to connect with players and truly understand their skill sets. O'Connell emphasized how Flores consistently puts players in positions to succeed, maximizing their impact on the field. That's not just coaching, that's leadership. When a head coach talks like that about his coordinator, it tells you how deeply intertwined their visions really are. O'Connell also made it personal. He talked about the trust and alignment they've built over the last 3 years, and how that relationship has become a cornerstone of the Vikings' success. This isn't a short-term partnership. This is a shared standard, a shared culture, and a shared expectation of excellence. And that kind of relationship doesn't get replaced overnight without consequences. Now, let's be real for a moment. The Vikings know, and Flores knows, that he still wants to be a head coach in this league. That dream hasn't gone anywhere. O'Connell acknowledged that openly back in December. He understands the process because he's been through it himself. And he made it clear that Flores has earned every opportunity that comes his way. But here's the balance. Acknowledging Flores' ambitions doesn't mean Minnesota is preparing to lose him tomorrow. It means they're appreciating him while they have him. O'Connell was clear that the team wants Flores as their defensive coordinator for the foreseeable future, even while knowing his value across the league. That honesty strengthens trust instead of weakening it. And let's talk results, because that's where Flores' case becomes undeniable. The Vikings' defense was a massive reason the team closed the 2025 season on a 5-game winning streak. When games mattered most, this unit showed up with discipline, physicality, and confidence. That's coaching translating directly to performance. Momentum like that doesn't happen by accident. Across Flores' first 3 seasons running the Minnesota defense, From 2023 through 2025, the Vikings have consistently ranked among the toughest units in the NFL. Opponents are averaging just 19.2 points per game against Minnesota. That's the second lowest mark in the entire league. In a league built around offense, that stat alone speaks volumes. The dominance doesn't stop there. Teams are managing only 317.1 total yards per game against the Vikings, and just 5.1 yards per play. Those numbers reflect consistency, not just splash plays. This defense forces offenses to work for everything, and that grind wears teams down over 4 quarters. The run defense has been especially brutal. Opponents are averaging only 105.4 rushing yards per game, ranking 5th in the NFL. Even more impressive, since 2023, teams are gaining just 3.9 yards per carry against Minnesota. That's the best figure in the entire league. Stopping the run sets the tone, and Flores' defense owns that space. Turnovers have become a true calling card of this unit. The Vikings have forced 52 fumbles, the second most in the league. Overall, they've recorded 73 takeaways, including 61 fumble recoveries and 43 interceptions. That's elite production. This defense doesn't just stop drives, it flips games. And if you're an offense facing Minnesota, big plays are hard to come by. Over the past 3 seasons, the Vikings have allowed only 147 plays of 20 yards or more. That's the fewest in the NFL since Flores took over. Explosive plays win games, and Minnesota takes them away. That's preparation, discipline, and smart aggression all working together. So when you put it all together, this isn't just about Flores staying another year. It's about preserving an identity the Vikings have fought to build. Continuity on defense gives Minnesota a real chance to build year over year, instead of resetting and recalibrating. And in a competitive NFC, that stability could be the difference. Now I want to hear from you. How important is Brian Flores to the future of the Vikings in your eyes? Do you feel more confident about 2026 knowing he's likely staying put? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this is a conversation Vikings fans need to have. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Minnesota Vikings news, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with every Vikings fan you know. Skol, and I'll see you in the next one.